Do you feel like you're forever just yelling at your kids? But what's actually happening in our child's brain? What are we creating by constantly yelling at them? You see, what's happening in the brain for our child and for us? Do you remember the last time someone yelled at you, or you got scared? You know, you got those goosebumps, the hair stood up, your heart started going really fast, you got really scared, really nervous. But it's exactly what happens every time we yell or shout at our child, causing the fear, because the amygdala is your fight or flight part of the brain, which fires off huge amounts of cortisol in order to deal and stimulate that fear. That's that fight, flight, run, freeze, faint part of the brain doing its job. Now, this can be connected and linked to behavior. So for example, imagine your child is just sitting here watching TV, but they keep rocking backwards and jumping up and down on the chair. And every time you see that, you yell at them and you shout at them and you release that cortisol, engaging that fight, flight, freeze, faint part of the brain that's responsible for that cortisol release. Which means now the desired behavior you want, for example, stop moving, sit still, is now connected with that cortisol release. Now all of a sudden, sitting still is a non-desired behavior. But why don't we turn this behavior around and use the skill of prompting instead? So for example, if you had the child bouncing up and down, let's say there's another child there, or someone sitting there really nice, we could prompt the behavior by saying, "Hey Johnny, look at Joe sitting there, how well he is. I'm so proud of Joe. Do you think you could be like that so I can be proud of you?" I use this all the time in my martial arts school. I got it from Melody Johnson. Thank you so much, Melody. And what we do, you see some child running around when everyone's lined up, and it's so easy. We look at someone lining up that's standing nicely, and I say, "Wow, look at Jacob standing there just like a black belt. Hey Johnny, do you think you could be just like a black belt like Jacob is?" And I said, "Can you be even better?" "Yeah, of course I can." He runs up and he'll stand there nicely. And that is the skill of prompting. And then the next time I'll catch that person who's running around, and I'll say to them up front, before we highlight anyone else, is, "Hey Johnny, can you stand like a black belt? Let's going to see who's the quickest one." And they'll go up there and I'll say, "Hey, don't let anyone beat you, and you're going to be the best one." And when he stands there nice and quiet, we clap and we say, "Yeah, well done, you are you're going to be an amazing black belt one day." That gives him pride, and he's standing there all up straight and proud of himself. And like our cortisol example, when we yelled and we attached that cortisol, that fight, faint feeling to the act of being still, now the act of standing up straight and being still is attached to that feeling of pride and feeling good. And there's another great story I learned from my coach Melody again, and I always share this one. I think it's such an amazing one. It's, imagine your child, we're going to send them off to school every day, and when we open the door, there's a wolf standing there, hungry, rabid, drool, and it's ready to eat the child. It's so hungry, it's scratching and diving and running. It sees the meal in front of it, and so of course quickly close the door. And the next day you go and open the door, and there the child sees the wolf again, over, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day, until it's almost like the child knows the wolf is there before it opens the door. And that is causing massive amounts of cortisol being released on a daily basis, and it's shaping that child's brain into what we call adverse childhood experiences. And then let's take another example. We're about to send our child to school, and we open the door, and standing there instead of the wolf is their favourite superhero. And the superhero turns around and says, "Hey, I'm ready to walk with you to school, and I'm going to look out for you. We're going to have some great fun together." Next day you open the door, and once again the superhero is standing there, brave, strong. "Hey man, I'm going to look out for you. We're best buddies. I'm going to help you. We're going to walk along, and I'm going to look out for you all the way." When looking at those two scenarios, imagine the chemical makeup of the first child's brain looking at the wolf, and the second child's brain looking at the superhero. They are completely different. Scientists and studies have shown that when a child gets yelled at, threatened, or punished in some way, their chemical makeup in the brain is exactly the same as if they saw a wolf or a bear standing at their door or outside. And I often hear, "Oh, but it's good to discipline our children in that way. It never did me any harm." Now and again, maybe. Every day is simply causing trauma. So if you do feel like you're constantly yelling and shouting at your child in order to enact the behaviour that you want, How about you turn into the hero that they need and start using prompting? So let's find out where we are on a scale of 1 to 5. Number 1, are you the type of parent that doesn't even prompt any behavior and just shouts anyway? Number 2, I give it a go sometimes, but it doesn't always work for me. Number 3, I try and it sometimes works. Number 4, you prompt positive behavior when you think about it. And number 5, you just do it all the time. So rate yourself, because we really do want to get to a number 5 if we want to be our child's superhero. And remember, if you can get to number 5, your child's brain will look very different to this child when you're the parent, when you're the hero on this side.